Praises to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, double honors to the elders and apostles of Jim Shubu well. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Um, I was doing some research on COVID depression, and I kept coming across this term. What FH, like, so WFH and WTF means, what the fuck. WFH means working from home or work from home. The abbreviation is often used in digital communication to notify colleagues that someone is working from home on a given day or for a temporary period instead of regularly reporting to a physical place of business. Now, this is a concept popularized from COVID, excuse me, where everyone is self-quarantined, resulting in many working from home. So I went and I was just looking through Reddit. There's a bit surprises is depression in British adults doubles during Corona crisis. This guy's a bit surprised it's only doubled, to be honest. This dude says in reality it's probably tripled or quadrupled because people tend not to talk about the black dog in the fear of stigma. I suffer from depression, yada yada yada. So, you can pretty much see here that these people are weak sauce, man. What was it say? Mental health and coping during C90. I'm very glad they posted this. I've had some big issues myself with this. I've always told my friends that mental health will be one of the biggest struggles of this pandemic. Best thing you can do for your mental health is avoid reading the news. So basically, run from reality. Even though we know the news is not reality, but you can use the news to kind of gauge what's really going on. You know what I mean? Or limit reading to just a few minutes every few days to stay abreast of the latest updates. Now, when you're in these scriptures, you're in the news daily. I'm watching the news daily, watching Trump make a damn fool of himself. It's all pretty hilarious. I take it in good jest, but these people can't take it. So basically, they can't deal with reality. So their whole thing is, they take doses of reality. We're in reality all the time, when we take doses of mirth. You might drink, you might be with your woman, you might watch, your little program, you might play a little game, whatever the case may be. But these people, in the same way that we dabble, with things of the world, these people dabble in the truth. So you can see the balance and the contrast there. When you're not working, stay focused on something more healthy like reading a new book or improving your work skills. Idle time has a corrosive effect if you don't stay occupied. Now, that's true. The devil makes work for idle hands. But again, once you're in the scriptures, and you're reading what's going on, you don't really have time for that. No, I said, but this stuff was making me laugh. I have panic disorder, anxiety, atypical anorexia, and OCD. WFH has badly affected me personally. My productivity is down the toilet. Can't focus properly at all. Sick of the sight of my flat. Can't go for a drink with my friends. Can't go watch a non-league football game or to take my mind off everything. Only so much Netflix, TV, and video games you can play until you need something real. Now, to him, what's real is watching, a non-league football game, or going down to the pub or to the chippy to get a pint with their friends. You know what I mean? That's what they class as real. Which is just basically like being an ostrich, where you stick your head in the ground and you just completely ignore the facts that's going on around. So they're not really changed. They're still in that same spirit. When they were allowed to do whatever, they weren't keeping abreast of what's really going on. And now that things are bad, they still don't want to confront reality. And the reason why these people can't do that is because when you look into Ecclesiastes 12:13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahweh and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For the Most High shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So we know this is the whole duty of man, and these people, they don't practice that. They practice that, that do as that will spirit, where they basically just trying to entertain themselves from uh eyes open to eyes closed. That's the whole duty of them, to entertain themselves and to be filled with mirth. So these people are not going to take these what's going on right now. And as it says, wisdom shall be the stability of our times. And these people aren't wise in how they go about. They're wise to do evil, and we all know that's not wisdom. Knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, and that's what these people go on. So they're not going to be able to sustain themselves during this time, because they're mentally fragile. It's like if somebody spent their whole life just eating and being fat and not moving, and you throw them in a war zone. They're not physically in a condition to be able to deal with everything that's happening around them, because they're not in the condition, mental or physical, to deal with that. Now, if you have somebody who's trained their whole life, and you throw them in the deep end, they're more than likely going to be able to do it. And these people, basically, the men of the Lord are doing their spiritual reps and their spiritual exercises, so they can deal with this stuff. You all know that these people have a very weak spirit. And I was reading about the 1929 stock crash, and they were basically saying how the suicide rates were exaggerated, but within the next year, the rates increased, and when people would go to book a hotel, the clerk would ask what for, sleeping or jumping, which denoted the fact that people were saying people were jumping from the roofs. But they said behind 1929's building jumping myth, however, may be the larger truth that the onset of the Great Depression did correlate to an increase in suicides, based on the statistics reported by Galbraith in a Great Crash 1929. The suicide rate in the United States increased from 17 per 100,000 people in 1929 to 21.3 in 1932 during the worst of the financial calamity. The pattern was much the same in New York. So you can see people weren't necessarily committing suicide straight away. It took a while for them to go through the prolonged chaos and hardships for it to get to them, basically for it to reach a boiling point, and then people start committing suicide. So right now, people aren't necessarily dealing with this right now, because they're hoping it gets better after they go through a sustained period of time of this so-called new normal. That's when you're gonna have everything coming ahead. Everything's just kind of slowly building up. Kind of like when you're boiling water, everything's all cool. If you see the kettle, and it gets to a point, that boiling point, where it starts bubbling. See, right now it seems all calm when the water's heating up. But once it starts bubbling, people are going to go ape, because these people are really not built to deal with this kind of stuff. And if you see Ecclesiasticus, is it Ecclesiasticus 29:21, the chief thing for life is water, bread, and clothing, and an house to cover shame. So that's really what you need in life. All you need is water, food, clothing, and a house to cover yourself. But these people, they want all of this stuff that's not necessary for life, like being able to go out with their friends at the pub, or go to the club, or go to a non-league football game. That they completely surround themselves in mirth. They don't have serious minds, because everything to them is a joke. They just want to pleasure their own flesh. So what happens when you're not able to pleasure your own flesh? You're gonna go ape, because you've not trained yourself to deal with reality. You've trained yourself to deal with mirth. So then when reality kicks in, it's going to be a shock to the system. If you're warm and somebody just throws you in a tub of ice cold water, you're gonna have a shock. Verse 22, better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than delicate fare in another man's house. And this is living in another man's house, because he's in another man's land, in another man's house, with delicate fare. So he's in a precarious situation. everything that you have is not yours, so you can't really enjoy it because you're always looking over your shoulder. This is why he likes to keep Jake down, because he's scared of Jake reclaiming what's rightfully his. When you steal something from somebody, you know, well, when I was younger, I used to, I'm ashamed to say, I used to shoplift, and then until I got out of the store, I didn't feel at ease because I knew the security guard could come and nab me. You know what I mean? This is he's in the shop, he's stolen all these goods. He feels completely uneasy until he gets out the shop and he thinks, the whole new world order is gonna be him being able to leave the stop. But just before he hits the entrance, Yahweh's just gonna put his hand on his shoulder and say, "You know what? I've seen everything you're stolen. Come to the back." And that's pretty much what's gonna happen to him. So right now he's not in the right state of mind, and all of this stuff is just showing how mentally cracked they are. Be it little or much, hold thee contented that thou hear not the reproach of thy house, for it is a miserable life to go from house to house. For where thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth. And he just can't shut the hell up, man. He be running off his mouth in other people's lands talking about make America great again. It was great before you went there. Same way with Britain, get all these immigrants out. And these people are the biggest immigrants everywhere they go. If you go to Revelation 14:4, these are they which were not defiled with women, which is, these different philosophies, these ideologies of do what thy will. You're not in the world friggin' playing Xbox and going to the pub and getting drunk and doing all this stupid stuff, believing in Jesus Christ. For they are virgins, these are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto Yahweh and to the Lamb. So, that's the main duty of those in the truth, to live by these laws and commandments and to follow the Lamb. These other people, they follow their own God, they follow their own lusts. And when you look into the philosophy of Lucifer, it's just really just do as thou wilt. So even though they say they don't worship the quote unquote devil, they follow the same doctrines that these so-called occultists use to basically say that there is no God, and you should do whatever you want and you should fulfill your pleasure. So as things are going downhill, these people are really gonna crack under pressure because they've literally built their whole lives around fulfilling their flesh, and now all the mirth is gone. So they don't have anything left because that's all that they put all their eggs in that basket, and now that basket is being taken away from them. And these people are like kids. When you're dealing with children constantly need to be entertained, and these people constantly need to be entertained and stimulated. So these people are not suited for any adverse conditions, and you can see how these people are going to crack. So it's not necessarily going to start now. Well, it's starting now. This is the beginning of sorrows, but when it's like a snowball going down the hill, it starts so small, and after a while, it's this big ball, and then it comes crashing down on whoever's standing at the bottom of the hill. And this is these people's society. This place is finished, and it's a beautiful thing to watch this place collapse, man. So that's pretty much it. These people are getting depressed, but the depression and the effects of the depression are not necessarily going to kick in now, but they're going to be ramping up over time as this gets worse and worse, because even here you have all the shops are shutting at 10 o'clock, and that's another thing that's making these people crack, because now you can't get your little 24-hour shop. Everything's being digitalized. So if you want food, everybody knows what you bought at what time and so on and so forth. Everything's really moving away from analog and from, private transactions to public and digital transactions. So, people's rights are being constantly eroded, and people are just not going to be able to deal with this stuff. All praises to the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders and apostles who rule well. Shalom to the hopefully elect.